Now. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sam Dhaliwal. I'm the founder and managing director of Jobjar. Jobjar is an app that is new and it connects job seekers and companies. And our objective is to make the complete recruitment workflow simple and easy for job seekers and companies to use. The presentation today is about how, as a job seeker, you can stand out and what are the sorts of things that employers look for when they are recruiting new staff. So we'll start off with some basics. A lot of the things I'm going to talk about today are actually quite intuitive, and I'll just try and give you a flavor of what the company's perspective is when you apply for a job. I've only have about 5 or 6 slides, so it should be fairly quick. And we'll take some questions at the end, or you can type the questions in the chat box as well. So there's some basic things. You should always research the job that you're applying for. This is important because you want to establish whether the job is suitable for you. Do you match the skills that are required? And there's no point applying for 50 jobs which perhaps you don't meet very well, rather than applying for 5 jobs where you feel you will be shortlisted and taken to the next stage, which is the interview, etc. So make sure you spend time finding out the job content, the job description, as well as find out about the company. Does it meet your sort of requirement in terms of, for example, if you would like to work for a large company or a smaller company, and those sorts of things will help you also, will guide you towards making choices. It could be a multinational, it could be a startup company, for example. You might be attracted to work for a startup company, which might sway you to choosing them. The next 3 points are really about our soft skills and how we present ourselves. So honesty seems pretty obvious, but I mean honesty at every level, in terms of when you prepare your CV, when you prepare your cover letter, when you are going through interviews, questions, etc. You know, starting with the CV, if you have not had, let's say, paid work experience, that shouldn't sway you from putting down other types of work experience on your CV, such as volunteering. Maybe at the weekend you were cutting grass for your neighbors. You know, you had a lemonade stand in the summer. I mean, these are all interesting things, and there's no harm in putting those sorts of things on your CV, especially if you're really applying for your first job and you don't have the experience. So think about the things you have done. It could be some volunteering experience as well. Maybe you taught some young children football, or something like that, or cricket, did some free coaching or something. You know, those are the sorts of things that are also interesting to put on your CV. The other kind of thing in terms of honesty is, in interview settings, make sure you are very straightforward and honest about, for example, if a company, somebody asks you, you know, what sort of relevant experience do you have? If you don't have any relevant experience directly, you know, just say, you know, you don't have any direct experience, but you have some other experience which makes you feel that you're suited for the position. So, you know, those sorts of things are appreciated by the people who are doing the interview, because they realize that perhaps you don't have direct experience, but maybe you're a fast learner, you're self-motivated, and those sorts of soft skills are just as important as saying, yes, I can, I know how to use, let's take a bad example, a macro in a spreadsheet or something. So yeah, honesty is extremely important, which then leads you to confidence. If you are really telling things about your experience and volunteering work, etc., that will lead automatically to present yourself with confidence to prospective employers, and that confidence will come out in your cover letter. It will come out in the way you present yourself in the CV, and also in interview setting. Because if you are, for example, talking, if you've mentioned in your CV some volunteering work you did, and you are asked about that, you can then talk about it very confidently because you have perhaps been passionate about that volunteering work, and that's also very helpful in making yourself present yourself well in the interview. Personality is also extremely important in terms of what companies are looking out for. These sort of soft skills make them understand what sort of person you are, and if, for example, you would work under pressure, if you are the type of person who requires guidance constantly, or if you are self-starter, you can pick up things yourself, a self-learner. And there's no right or wrong answer to either of those things. If you're a self-learner or you require guidance, that doesn't mean one or the other is better. It's just that you're different, and you can present yourself accordingly. Okay. So your profile is all about what you put down on a piece of paper and how you present yourself. The cover letter is the first sort of interaction you will have with the company, and it's extremely important that you prepare the cover letter specific for the job and specific for the company. There's been several cover letters that I've received over the years when I have recruited people, and they have been just standard copy and paste type cover letters, which are not very helpful. And they also don't come across as somebody who spent time thinking about the job, and quite often those sorts of CVs are disregarded by employers, at a very early stage. So make sure you take time to write it and get help as well. Write it up and present it to a friend or somebody else, and get them to read it and see if it makes sense. It does not have to be very long, but it does have to be specific for the job type and for the company as well. Perhaps the company is doing something very exciting that you've been interested in all your life. Mention that in the cover letter. Your CV is the next thing. Obviously, there's lots of resources available in how you should write your CV, so I'm not going to go into that. All I'm going to say is that besides putting down your experience, perhaps your paid experience or your experience relevant to the job, make sure you also mention other experience such as volunteering, community work, mention your activities and hobbies and interests. And these things are important because they present yourself in a well-rounded way. Your interests could be, I don't know, building airplane models or flying drones or collecting stamps. All these sorts of things are interesting for employers because it helps you talk about those things, and by talking about it, they can gauge your communication skills, and your confidence levels, etc. So make sure you mention those sorts of things as well. They don't, again, it doesn't have to be extremely long, but you could just mention a few items that can be talking points during an interview, and also it makes your CV well-rounded. There is a element that is becoming very popular, and certainly in Jobjar, what we have done is incorporated a video statement as part of your profile building. So when you download the Jobjar app as a job seeker, the app is free. You can download it, you can create your profile and upload your CV, etc. But you can also do something in addition to just writing down what your CV is. You can also record a video statement, a personal video statement, and it can be about 30 to 40 seconds long. And the idea behind that is to sort of showcase your skills in a video format. And the good thing about this is that it makes you think. So when you're recording it, you will think about exactly what you want to say. Perhaps you'll write it down. But once you've written it down, you will read it out and adapt and change, and then settle on something, a final video in which you feel that you're presenting yourself as a motivated person, you're comfortable, and you're coming across confident. And these video statements, when you do apply for a job, the employer will be able to see this alongside your CV, and it's yet another thing that will help them perhaps choose you to go on to the next stage to be interviewed. The other thing that happens these days with most employers is that they will check your name, literally do a Google search or something on your name and see what sort of social media links you have. This is fairly common now anyway. So we have provided in the Jobjar app a placeholder for putting your links to social media. So if you feel you were part of a volunteering project or something that you want to share with prospective employers, there's a placeholder for that, and you can put that link on there as part of your profile. So in other words, take time to do these things, and that will be really helpful when you're applying for a job. So from a company point of view, what's going on in their mind when they're looking for somebody, right? I mean, that's really important. So the first thing is obviously skills. So they want, if a company is looking for engineers, obviously they're going to want to see that you have some engineering skills or mathematical skills or whatever is the requirement. If it's a general job, they're looking for perhaps soft skills. Maybe it's a job in retail where they're looking to hire some people to manage a shop or something. So they're looking probably for interpersonal people skills, communication skills, perhaps at the top of their items, so to speak. And then there's suitability for the job. What does that mean? It means, are you interested in the job? What do you know about the company? And again, these sorts of things will come out when you're writing your cover letter and your CV. Your CV might be quite generic, but certainly your cover letter will be tailored towards the company. You will say why you're interested in the job, why you feel you're suitable for the job. So really, you want to get at the very first, get over the very first hurdle, which is to get yourself shortlisted for an interview. And you need to make sure that you do those first steps of sending a cover letter and having a good CV first, so that you can get selected, shortlisted for the next stage. Then the other big part of what the company is looking for is sort of a personality type of thing. Are you self-motivated? Again, you can present that in a CV. For example, I'd mentioned, you were cutting grass in the summer. I mean, that's not just cutting grass. It means you're self-motivated. You were not sitting around doing nothing, but you thought that it was helpful for you to do some work and maybe um, earn some money as well. So that shows self-motivation and those sorts of examples. So make sure you mention those sorts of things in your CV, and also so that your personality comes out. And then they're also thinking, well, are they going to fit into this company? If it's a startup company, maybe there's only 2 or 3 people in there. They don't have a full training program for you. Perhaps you're the type of person who needs a training program or a structured training program. So, there's the question of independent learning versus structured training, which is my last point on this slide there. So you need to think about that. And then people skills and communication skills. How good are you with people? Can you work in a team? Can you take sort of, I wouldn't say orders, but can you work with people and go ahead and do your tasks and collaborate with people? Sometimes companies do all kinds of evaluations to check if what sort of person you are, and that's what they're looking for, is seeing what sort of people skills and soft skills you have. Communication, extremely important throughout your career, starting with your first job, your second job, or whichever job. You must be able to communicate clearly in writing and verbally. And this is really an essential requirement these days for any job. Well, it has always been an essential requirement, but it's becoming more and more important because we are interacting more and more sort of virtually and through social media and emails and things like that. So quite often, again, communication needs to come out very strong in your CV as well as in your interview. In terms of job requirements, the company wants to know if you're willing to travel, for example, if the job involves a lot of travel, and whether or not you are working in a structured environment, or whether you'd like to, or whether you are an independent learner and you can just be given some tasks and you can go ahead and complete those tasks independently, and you're sort of a self-starter and self-motivated. Notice that on here, I have not mentioned anything about your grades or your technical qualifications. I have deliberately left that out because the focus of this presentation is really your soft skills, which I believe are probably just as important, if not more important, than your technical background or your learning or your grades. So how do you improve your chances of success? There's a little bit of repetition here, but if you followed the complete workflow from applying for a job to interview, basically what you want is to write a strong cover letter. Make sure your CV is informative and well-rounded. So it should give the employer or prospective employer an understanding of your personality, of your experience. So they should be able to read that and say, okay, this person is a self-starter. They're, motivated. They've volunteered in the community, or they've got an interest in lots of different things, or whatever the case may be, that you've worked perhaps in a shop part-time. All those sorts of things are extremely important to put down on your application. And then with Jobjar, of course, we give you the opportunity to record a personal video statement, which further enhances your profile and provides prospective employers yet another way of assessing your application and hopefully taking you forward to the next stage. So apply for the job, send in your cover letter and your CV and things like that. And in Jobjar, basically, you literally click a button and apply for a job. So because the companies would have posted the job also on Jobjar, and you can just click and apply for it directly, and they will get a notification, the fact that you're interested. So all very straightforward and simple. You should always follow up after you've applied for a job. It's really helpful for the employer as well to stay on top of things, and it's also good for you to know that to stay on top of, you know, what is the application status. There's you should not hesitate to do that a few days after the job application has been submitted, in case you've not heard back from the employer. Now, for the interview stage, there's obviously preparation required. You must prepare, and things I mentioned before, learn about the company, the job description, and the job content. And, you know, again, there's lots of material available on what sorts of questions might be there, and typical interview questions and things like that. Those are all great because they help you prepare a little bit, but most importantly, make sure you understand the job requirements and you understand the company and you have done some research on the company, and ask questions. So, you know, the interview is not just about the employer wanting to know if you're suitable for the job. It is also an opportunity for you to assess the company and see if the company is suitable. So make sure you go prepared with a few questions of your own that you should ask in the interview. And that always comes across as a positive sign for companies, is when job seekers are armed with some questions. Again, that shows that you're interested in the job. After the interview, follow up. Again, it's very simple, but often forgotten. Make sure you are persistent in your follow-up. And if a decision has been made, and if sadly you were not selected, don't be disheartened. Make sure you get some feedback from the company and understand why that they did not select you. That is also perceived as a very positive thing. You know, is to be able to learn from the whole experience and improve yourself. Equally so, if you did get the job, it is also good to ask why you were offered the job, because you will learn something about yourself. Perhaps give yourself a pat on the back for presenting yourself well, or whatever the case may be. So, you know, it's always important to ask these questions, and companies are generally very helpful in answering and coming back to you on that. So how can Jobjar help you do all of these things? Like I've mentioned before, we have a free app that allows you to create a profile. You can upload your CV, links to social media. You can record a personal video statement, and then based on once you've created your profile, you can browse and apply for jobs. Once you have applied for a job, that's when any prospective employer will be able to see your profile, and that profile will include your CV, your video statement, links to social media, etc. So whatever you have added onto your profile will be visible to a prospective employer only after you apply for a job. And then the other nice thing is that you can manage all your applications with ease. So if you applied for 6 different jobs within the Jobjar app, you can see them all listed within the app. You can check the status of each one at any stage. For example, if you're at the interview stage, it will show you on the app that you're at the interview stage and you've got an interview scheduled a certain time. And Of course, you can do a video interview within the app, which is very helpful these days. And from an employer point of view, they can also record snippets of the interview and share with colleagues, which means that they can take a decision much faster. So the whole collaboration, the whole environment is such that is set up for companies to collaborate with their colleagues and come up with quick decisions about the potential employees or job seekers that they've got. And one of my experiences when I was applying for jobs was that I applied for many jobs and I never got a response from so many of them. And that was one of my motivations to get this app developed, was basically to stop this. I sent my CV but never got a response. So hopefully we will try and manage and make things better for both job seekers and companies, and make it a nicer, smoother experience for everyone. To find out more, you can visit our website. We also have a YouTube channel, and you can email us, and also we have a chat facility on the app and the website. The app is available everywhere, of course, but at the moment it's launched in the UK, and we are more than happy for you to download it and use it, create your profiles if you're a job seeker, if you're a company, post your jobs, and good luck. Thank you. That's all I have in the presentation.
Thank you, Sam.